Hello, folks. Dustin Zarni here, commissioner in the car. I'm the Onondaga County Democratic Elections Commissioner. Today is Wednesday. I'm a little late because I wanted to get you all the information about the Manlius town election, but I'm also going to talk to you a little bit about these reports of BOE impersonators going around our county and throughout New York State. I'm going to save that for the end because I want to focus on the Manlius town election first. So today's the 28th, and we have in our office the notification for the Manlius special election that is happening September 23rd. So a few things about this, some background. This election is being caused because of a petition that was circulated mostly by the Manlius GOP, it was circulated and passed to create a ward system in the town of Manlius. And because they chose to do this by circulating a petition instead of asking the town board to put this on an election, then it caused a special election. If the town board had passed a resolution before August 7th or something like that, they could have put it on the November general election. However, this group, instead of bringing their grievance to the town board, they decided to do a petition instead. And under town law, when a petition is filed and is approved, that the town has 60 to 70 days to put on a special election for this referendum. And so that is why it's not being held at the November general election, and why they have to hold this special election now. After the petition was filed, the last day they could hold this special election was September 26th. By the way, my birthday. And so they could not choose to put it on the November election. And this was known to the petitioners. This was something the petitioners wanted. They wanted this special election instead of the November election to decide this question. So that's some background about why it's not on the November election. But what is the question that is being decided in Manlius is to move from a townwide representation to a ward representation, where the town of Manlius, similar to the towns of Camillus and Salina, would be split up into wards where people would run in districts as opposed to running town-wide. Now, I'm not going to get really into the pros or cons of this, because the Board of Elections is helping the town of Manlius run this election, and I won't take a side on a policy question like this. But that is up to the litigants. I'll just briefly summarize. The people who want a ward believe that you get representation from all the sides of the towns, and the people who want to keep it the same the people who want to keep it the same, they say, well, if you have townwide representation, then you would have multiple representatives, and also that splitting up into wards is a way to allow gerrymandering into the town of Manlius. So what will happen is now on September 23rd, which is a Saturday, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., the town of Manlius will have an election. There is no early voting. The Manlius Town Hall is the polling place, and we are helping on the election day election. So they have chosen, and I think to be able to have as many people vote as possible, to use the Board of Elections registration lists and accept that, so everybody who's registered to vote in the town of Manlius can do so. And they have set 3 days where people who are not registered to vote can register. And you have two choices. You can either register for just this election, or you can register to vote with Onondaga County and actually register to vote. Of course, I'm going to tell you should do the latter if you're not registered. That is the proper way to do this. But if you really wanted to register and you're a citizen of Manlius, and you only want to register for this election to be able to vote in this one topic and not register with the Board of Elections, there are 3 days where the town of Manlius, and I'll be putting all this in my show notes, but there are 3 days where the town of Manlius is actually having that. And the last day is September 11th. And they will open up their offices and have people be able to come in and actually physically register to vote. And what will also happen is that they will be taking the permanent absentee list. Well, let's finish on the registration. So you have until September 11th to register to vote for this election. So really September 10th. So on September 10th, you have to register to vote, and you know, if you don't have your registration updated, you'll have to vote by affidavit on September 23rd. And affidavit ballots will be allowed, and we will be assisting the town of Manlius with that. Now, though the Board of Elections is assisting, we don't run the election. The election is run by the town clerk. That's under town law. So we can assist. We're providing equipment. We're providing inspectors. They're paying for all of this, but we can assist. And that leads to some weird rules when it comes to absentee balloting. So if you're a permanent absentee ballot in Onondaga County, where you've chosen to be a permanent absentee, you will get an absentee ballot mailed out to you by the town of Manlius. They're going to get that list from us on September 8th and on September 11th, and they're going to start doing those mailings, because then they've accepted that those are the correct people who get absentees. But if you're not a permanent absentee, you can still get an absentee ballot with Manlius. Say you're out of town that weekend, you know, whatever. There are excuses for special excuses for voting in the town election, and the town of Manlius will be circulating an ability to apply for an absentee ballot and have that mailed to you through their town clerk office. They're going to put that up on the town clerk website and of course on their Facebook and social pages. So stay tuned for that. It's not up as of right now, but I wanted to get on and give you this information because we've been getting a lot of calls about this weird little special election that's going on. So you will still have election day voting. You will still have absentee voting. There will not be early voting. Town elections, much like village elections, don't have early voting. You know, so that is what's going on. Now, what the Board of Elections will do is that we're providing equipment, we're providing ballots, we're providing poll prints and poll pads to check in voters. We're providing a list of inspectors that are going to work the polls. And we're going to provide assistance in counting the absentees and counting the affidavits on election day after the polls close. The polls close at 5. We will then count the absentees and count the election day ballots, or the affidavit ballots. Once those ballots are counted, we will then go ahead and you know, help the town of Manlius report the final results. We will give them the results from the machines that day. They will have a manual count of their absentees and their affidavits. They'll merge them together, I assume, on a spreadsheet and announce the results on their socials, and we will do so as well. But we're not going to have it on our website because it's not an official election that we run at the Board of Elections. So we can't put those on our website. So this town of Manlius special election is weird. I can't imagine. I don't remember, you know, other special elections like this where we've helped run. A lot of times they've done, you know, regular ballots, but this is a hotly contested issue, and I expect there to be decent turnout. I at least hope there is, and because it is changing the form of government. Now, a lot of you have asked what happens after the election. Well, if it's a no vote, nothing happens. Everything continues on the same. If it's a yes vote, what we know for sure is that the Onondaga County Board of Elections Commissioners will go about a process of defining those wards. We will draw those and put those in place. I have questions about when those lines will be in effect. Some people have said 2025, some people have said 2027, because there are people being elected right now to a 4-year term. And can we just take them out of that term and put them into wards? That's yet to be resolved. I imagine that if this passes, there will be some kind of rulings that we'll need to get from the state board and the town attorney on what the process is for drawing the lines in terms of whether we'll have hearings or anything like that, or other things. So that's the process for if it's a yes vote. If it's a no vote, if the voters reject it, then we go on with the election as normal, and we will be moving on as normal. So that's the town of Manlius special election. And as we get more information, I will be bringing that to you. And I expect for more updates in our commissioner cards going into September. But I also wanted to give a little special notice about these Board of Elections impersonators that have reared its head today. There was a Syracuse.com article today. I think Spectrum News is doing an article. We had some articles go yesterday, just kind of notice articles. What happened is that the New York State Board of Elections sent out a notice asking us to beware, us being all the county boards, not just Onondaga County, but all the county boards, to beware of that it is quite possible that they were getting reports throughout the state of people going door to door, knocking on people's door, and saying they are from the Board of Elections and questioning them on their registration. And obviously this is very concerning because anybody going door to door impersonating the Board of Elections is improper and maybe illegal. Yesterday, we had not had any real notice that this was happening in Onondaga County, but we decided to put out the state board, a posting on social medias. I did it on mine as well, just basically saying that the state board is saying that this is happening, and if anybody has had this experience, please contact the Board of Elections. Well, today, we got a couple of voters that contacted us saying that repeating similar incidents as what was described by the state board happening in other counties, where people were coming to their door and questioning them on their registration and saying they were from the Board of Elections. So obviously that is now gone from a slight concern to a major concern. We have forwarded the information to the Onondaga County Sheriff and the Onondaga County District Attorney. The people who have made the reports, some of them have had materials that they were able to provide us. Some of them had pictures that they were able to provide us of the people that were there. We can't get into much details because now there's an investigation, and we've sent this to the proper authorities to do so, and I believe they will. It's very concerning. The question is, why are they doing this? And that is a question that I don't really have a good answer for, because there's no logical reason to do this. However, we have seen other groups like the New York Citizens Audit making these same types of inquiries in a different way, saying that that people were improperly registered in New York State, and almost always this is a case of them misreading the data. And I only say almost always. I don't know of any instances that it isn't always that, but I never say always, because people are human. They make different mistakes. Registrations may come up, but almost always, either they're looking at people with similar names, but are actually different people that are registered in 2 different counties, or they're looking at records where somebody had a purged voter record in one county and an active voter registration in another. And how can that go about? Well, if somebody changes their voter registration, especially very close to the election, they move from one county to another, which people do a lot. Especially in a presidential election, they may update their voter registration kind of late going into the general election. Well, a lot of times the home county hasn't had time to update their voter registration, and they update it right before the election, and we send a notice to the old county saying, we've registered this voter, you should take them off your rolls. But when we're very close to an election, we can't actually take them off the rolls until after the election. Or if we do take them off the rolls, they're in what's called a purge status. So these voter registration groups are looking at this data, misreading it, thinking that purged voters are active voters, or not understanding the timing, and they're just claiming that this is something nefarious when it is routine and normal, and there are safeguards in place to make sure that any old registrations are eventually purged from the system through our cross checks that we do. And in none of these cases have they actually alleged that people have voted more than once, that they voted in the same election twice. Somebody might have voted in a primary in one county and then moved and voted in the general in the next. That is absolutely okay. In some ways I feel sorry for some of these groups, because obviously they're still contesting the 2020 election, and this is what they've focused their life around. When it has been proven over and over and over again that the 2020 election was one of the most secure elections, and that there was little to no voter fraud, and any voter fraud that happened was incidental in an individual and not something that could actually change any electoral results. But this is, it's almost a matter of faith. This is what they have decided, that this is what they are motivated and wanting to pursue. And it's kind of sad, to be quite honest. But in each instance, we're going to try to stand up for the truth at the Board of Elections. Very happy that we have agreement at the board, bipartisan agreement, that we have no quarter for this kind of stuff. If somebody's saying they're impersonating us, we're going to bring those records right to the proper authorities. And we even went the extra step and sent them to two different authorities, a Democrat in Onondaga County Sheriff Tobias Shelley, and a Republican in Onondaga County District Attorney Bill Fitzpatrick. So I have faith that those two entities will find a way to do an investigation and figure out what's going on here. But in the meantime, and the main purpose of me bringing this up is I would really like that if you have been approached by these type of people, please contact us. And please give as many details as possible. This is concerning. It is voter suppressive, and it is something that should not be happening. So we wanted to get to the bottom of this, find out why these people are doing this, and get them to stop. Because nobody deserves to be harassed at their homes over something that is easily disproven. So that's it. That's my commissioner in the car. So today's Wednesday, so I'm running a little late. So on Friday will be my Zoom with Zarni with Mark Spatafor, the Greater Syracuse Labor Council president. We have our annual chat about election matters and unions in Central New York. It's a great chat. He's a good friend. I'm very happy to have him on. This weekend, I'll be doing a weekly wonk in the town of Tully. It's my last weekly wonk on the towns. I already had the town of Skinny Atlas on my weekly wonk series last week. It's the last town that has any competitive Democrat versus Republican races. But then don't worry, I'm not going to be done with the weekly wonk, because I still got 4 or 5 county legislative districts that we got to do that are having races, and a few other that might come up as well. So like some villages, like the village of Solvay, that are having elections this November. So I still got a lot of articles to write before the November election. So stay tuned for all of that. Well, thank you very much. Remember, go to dustinsarney.com. You can subscribe and get all your content information as well as election news. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.